So here we are talking with Uncle Jonah, the father of Supermarket Sunday and Malt Monday. Catch him live on Vau TV and, of course, Homebrew Wednesdays. So, Jonah, how are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, I do a bit of all sorts. Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. Pretty good for this late in the evening. Oh man, you make me staying up. I got to get my beauty sleep.
It's only 5 a.m., guys, so,
Yeah, yeah, just the usual. That's what it seems like on my Vaughn TV casts. Sometimes, oh my God, sometimes they go on a bit too long. But I haven't fallen asleep
not
yet.
yet.
I haven't done the red light thing that Craig did that time. Uh, and that other guy who got arrested by the police live on Vaughn TV. That was quite a
I
good
have
one.
no idea about that.
I guess that's later on in my career.
So, who is Uncle Jonah?
That's me, man. That's me. I like to think what what you see is what you get, but um, yeah, I guess I don't know who is Uncle Jonah. I'm the bearded wonder, I suppose, and yeah, Vaughn TV is probably where you see the real Uncle Jona. Homebrew Wednesday and all those other weird things of which I've kind of started are all edited, but the Vaughn TV cast obviously is live, and I tend to drink quite a lot. So by the end of the night, all the Australians think I'm some drunken Englishman because they come in, they come in when it's like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning
Mm-hmm.
here, and I'm very drunk by then.
But okay, so a little bit about your personal life, though. Like,
Um, well, some people know, but probably the majority of people don't know that I graduated in psychology, and I've also got an MSc and Masters, also in psychology. So yeah, I've got reasonably high in my education, I suppose. And the higher you get, I don't know whether this is just about psychology, where you delve into the mind and all this kind of stuff, but the higher you get, the less you actually know. Does that make
and
sense?
the older you
I
get.
had, yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe that's true as well. Because, but yeah, from 2001, I think, when I graduated, to 2013, so last year when I got my masters, that's like 12
Mm-hmm.
years. So in that time, yeah, my brain has degenerated all sorts. But I've done lots of stuff in between as well.
Nice.
Um, yeah, job wise, a lot of you know that I recently got fired from my job, unfortunately. But I spent the last 10 years working for the government over here in the
Okay.
UK.
How's that been?
And oh, it's terrible, man. Don't ever work for your government, because you find out secrets which you're not supposed to tell, really. But I guess you realise how corrupt politicians and politics are, um, and how you think, oh, these people are really wonderful, but at the end of the day, they're just humans like
Yeah.
us. I don't think I could have done it for much longer anyway. But then, obviously, I got canned, I got
Yeah, we
fired
were very sorry to hear
because of
about
YouTube.
that.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
it's very bad news. So, what are you looking to go forward to now?
Well, to be honest, I was a bit down, and obviously you guys probably know, or those of you that follow me on YouTube know that I had a bit of a break, 2.5 months, 3 months, something
Yeah.
like that, and yeah, a bit, not, I wouldn't say dark time, but just just being lazy and sitting around in my pants and taking after Tiny there, um, and but nowadays I'm actually thinking that it's a good thing. I'm thinking, philosophically about it and thinking, maybe that was the right time that I needed to give up. Because towards the end, I hated my job. I really didn't like it at
Hmm.
all. And, a lot of people, they do the same thing. Nobody really loves their job unless you're really lucky. Um, but yeah, I was just getting a bit ground down. So on the plus side, I'm quite happy that I'm not working there anymore.
No, I think that's great. And then uh, you seem a little bit happier, a little bit chipper, and yeah, I think that break was pretty good. I mean, everybody has to have a break every now and then, and it's nice to just take a pause.
Yeah, bit of an exclusive. I spoke to Zippy Viking
Yes.
the other day, and he's done the same thing. He has been off the scale, if you like, but he says he's going to be coming back real soon. So, bit of an exclusive for you
That's
guys.
cool.
Not sure when that's going to happen.
Yeah, that'd be nice
but
to
yeah,
see Zippy come back. Do you have any insight into
yeah, he's a nice guy, mad as anything.
Do you have any insight into the conclusion of what happened with the smash off?
With the smash off, we all got smashed. I don't know. What do you mean? Who won? I don't actually know. He didn't tell me.
I remember tasting your beer during that smash off, and then you had probably one of the most surprisingly good beers of the competition. I think I scored you probably within my top 3, and then I must admit I was a little bit surprised because I didn't know what to expect, and it was really nice. It was a really nice drinker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the weird thing is, a lot of people place my one quite high because I knew that a lot of people, because it's the fashion to do American IPAs, or I call them AIPA. E-I-E-I-O.
Yeah, you seem a little bit harsh on the whole American twist of it, but sometimes.
No, don't get me wrong. I do like. I went to the beer festival at Olympia, London Olympia, and for the whole first half a day, all we were drinking was American beers because you can't get those beers over here usually. But my rationale is that if I'm doing a competition, I should do a beer that's kind of rooted to where I'm from, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's not that I don't like the American style, but I especially in commercial beers, they seem to be taking over, and every brewery has got an IPA now.
American IPA.
And yeah, I mean, I can understand it because we don't really have the hops growing over here, although, you know, Cascade, people are starting to grow it over here now. But some of the really sort of the Yakima Valley up in Washington State, those hops we're never going to see over here. So I can understand why people are doing it to be different, to stand out. But I quite like the dishwater pints, as I'm sure you well know.
Yeah, man, but yours came off as like a really nice English pale ale, and it was just really well balanced, and hit all the numbers.
I mean, it was the smash off, so we had to keep it reasonably simple. Mm-hmm. But from the very beginning, I always knew that I wanted to use an English hop variety and Marisota because, you know, they're both from England. So I knew people would really be going for things like Centennial, like your good self, Cascade, Citra, you know, those kind of hops. And I thought, no, I'm not going to go down that route. I want to keep it nice and simple. Yeah, the other option I was going to try, and I might do this next year, so nobody do this one because I'm calling it. Was I was going to do a darker beer somehow, you know, boil down my first runnings and get really dark, and then put Fuggles in and do it as a dark beer style. Okay.
What were the beers that stood out for you? Were there any beers that stood out?
Believe it or not, even though a lot of people think I'm, you know, anti the American IPA style, I liked the Centennial, both your one and
No Fucking Good.
Who was the other one? Was it Peanut Brewery? Or? No Fucking Good. That was the one. Those two beers, because I really like that hop. It's like a sort of, you know, like chewing bubble gum. It's got that really weird flavour, and I like that. And Scoosy's, I really like Scoosy's. Not many people did, but I thought his one was really, really good. And obviously Homebrew Tom at the end, I drank his one as well. And yeah, that one was, well, it wasn't a smash beer, but
it was sweet.
Yeah, it didn't go quite the way it should have done. Yeah, go on. on.
So when it comes to online TV, do you have like a predefined day every week that you plan on broadcasting? What is your day?
I should do, shouldn't I? It's usually Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
It's usually Friday because Harry used to broadcast on Friday, and he stopped doing that now. So there was a natural slot for me to jump into, and obviously Craig and Maniac, Mike, also known as Maniac,
Okay.
they also do theirs on Friday. So there's kind of like a natural progression on a Friday evening, sort of from one into another into another. Doesn't always work because sometimes I overspill, and I've had people that are in my cast, they're also in Mike's cast, and they're also in Craig's cast when he comes on. So it gets a bit confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, usually Friday night. Friday's a good night to cast.
So let's talk about YouTube a little bit. Like, how long have you been on YouTube, and what really got you going on YouTube?
YouTube. I mean, that I joined YouTube in 2006, I think. But my first couple of videos were, well, you can have a look in my back catalogue, but one of them I was juggling, I think, with AC/DC playing in the background, which was quite funny. And I did a couple of climbing videos because I was quite into the rock climbing at the time. So they were just mobile phone rip-offs, and then I used Movie Maker, Windows, you know, probably maybe XP or something at the time, quite a while ago, for the editing, but they were pretty bad. And then I guess 2010, sort of that sort of era, I started doing brewing videos and beer reviews, which I've always done. And some people hate my beer reviews.
What is it you think they don't like about your beer reviews?
Well, I mean, some of the beer reviews, especially things like Supermarket Sunday, which was something I started. People from America, people from Australia, you can't, and maybe even people from Europe like yourself, can't get hold of those beers. So, you know, if you're seeing a guy reviewing an English beer in England that you'll never see, you're probably not going to like the review. But I could say the same thing. I mean, when Kevin Clements came over a few months ago, back in the summer, he basically said, yeah, I look at the title of your video, and if it's a beer I don't know, I won't watch it. So I was like, oh, thanks, Kev.
No, but I think that's a very good point, because I feel the same way. I mean, you look at all of these other beer reviewers, and there's a few that have thousands of followers, and they're like reviewing all these sort of big, huge beers or popular beers or rare to find beers that I just can't get a hold of. And I think that's the same situation for a lot of people. And if we can't get a hold of them, then, you know, that's 10 minutes that I could be watching another Homebrew Wednesday or somebody else that I could relate to more.
Exactly, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And the weird thing is there's definitely a niche. We've got the homebrewers on YouTube, and there's definitely a niche for beer reviewers as well. And because I kind of do both, maybe my beer reviews are annoying the homebrewers, and my homebrew videos are annoying the beer reviewers, if that makes sense.
So beer tubers, and then there's the brew tubers, and so they get a little bit mixed up here and there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily...
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't necessarily think that that's true for you, though, because you've got a pretty big following there in the UK, so you do have a lot of people that can relate to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I often say, I'm thankful for everyone that watches my vids, because when I started, it was supposed to be a blog or a vlog of my home brewery, and you know, I literally was doing cans, brewing them in the sort of shed, if you like, and then it grew as I got a bit more confident. I began the kind of getting my own kind of taste, and that's where the the beer reviews came from. But I have to say, I much prefer doing reviews on homebrew beers than I do on shop bought beers.
It's nice to get beer mail.
Oh yeah, of course. And but it's nice. It's nice when you get the feedback from the guy, you know, that brewed it. I did one a couple of weeks ago with a guy called Any Old Toss. His name is Simon's his real name, and I said to him, look, do you mind if I do it on the Vau TV, because I haven't got any beer and I haven't got any money because I'm still looking for a job. So, you know, it would be boring if I didn't have anything to drink. And he went, no problem, drink away. And I managed to record it somehow. And I uploaded it onto YouTube as well. But he was actually watching the live feed, the live cast, while I was drinking his beer.
Nice. And
he was actually drinking one of them at the same time. And it was really good, man. We got that, you know, that connection going.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And sometimes I tend to get emotional as well, because I've had a few beers usually. And I'm well known in the wee hours to get a bit sort of, oh, I love you, man. And, you know, this kind of drunken thing that you'd probably end up doing in a pub about last orders, you know. Oh, man, we got to do this again and blah, blah, blah. But I do that on Vau TV.
Yeah, I think we all do, to some point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your home brewing.
Exactly.
So you did just mention you started doing YouTube and posting it as like a vlog for your brewing. So what did you start off with?
Well, right. Well, this is interesting, and again, some people that follow my channel a lot will know that I actually started homebrewing in 1995, I think it was, when I was a student, surprisingly enough. And the only shop that you could buy, well, you had the homebrew shops, but they generally only sold the equipment. You couldn't really get the cans, the pre-hopped kind of malt cans. And there's a shop in the UK called Boots the Chemist, it's called. It's quite a famous chemist shop, and they had a bit of homebrew, like a section. Yeah, so yeah, I think I did 2 or 3 kit beers. I did 2 ciders, and then I did a sake, a rice wine.
Okay.
And yeah, and that was all rice.
So how did they turn out?
Not all grain, but all rice. They were awful. they were, you know the one kit twang that people talk about. It was literally get a kilo bag of sugar from the supermarket, chuck it in, put the water in, leave it, boom, that's it. There were no hops, there were no steeping, no grains. I mean, people probably were doing all grain at the time. But it was a lot less well known than it is now.
It sounds like it was harder to get the ingredients.
So, yeah. But you had to go to specialist places, and you know the sharing of information, because the internet wasn't massive back in those days, unless you were into computers and stuff. And essentially, if you've done 3 or 4 batches of beer, and obviously at the time it was all because we wanted to get drunk for very cheap prices because we were all students. But when your homebrew is bad, and you're thinking, man, I'm going to drink it because I'm tight with money, but it doesn't taste that great. And in those days, you know, a pint over here was £1 for a pint, and nowadays it's like £5 if you go up into London town. So yeah, it's a big difference. So that was why we started the homebrew. And then all the stuff got put up into the loft, and I didn't look at it for years and years and years. And then, yeah, say 2010, I watched one of Craig's videos, and yeah, I was impressed how things had changed. And I thought, yeah, I've got some of the equipment. It won't cost me that much money to get it started again. And my first beer turned out really well. Nice.
Do you remember what that was?
So yeah. Yeah, it was a 2-can kit, a wherry kit, they call it. And I put honey in instead of sugar. Okay. So it was like, I called it Honey Wherry. There's a video of me drinking it. and it was really nice, and it changed a lot because honey, obviously, anyone that brews with honey will know that the taste changes a lot over time. You start off quite sweet, and then as the months go by, it gets very, very dry. Yeah, it was gorgeous, man. Didn't last that long, but yeah, really nice beer.
And then did you follow up with more ciders, or did you stick with more beers?
I did quite a few beers, kit beers. Then I did some ciders and meads. I did the legendary Sizer of Doom, which was an absolute epic beer, an epic Sizer, a honey cider, for those of you that don't know. And yeah, then I started thinking, right, I need to do something more. I started doing mini mashes, going down that kind of route, adding hops, dry hopping, really easy things to do. And then I started going into all grain. Yeah.
Okay.
And so until I had a few problems with finances and stuff from losing my job.
Yeah.
So I'm not really brewing that much at the moment. What have I done lately? Actually remind me about the cider, because I've got to tell you about this.
Okay.
The one that's going on at the moment. But I did a few ginger beers and some sort of braggart things. Really simple 1 gallon, 2 gallon batches.
Okay.
But that's quite good too. When you're doing all grains and stuff, you don't have to whack out the big sort of 5-10 gallon batches. You can do small ones, and in a way, you can be a bit more creative, a bit more experimental, because you've only got, say, 8 pints.
Right.
And you're going to lose a little bit in transfers anyway, so you're probably only going to have 7 pints to drink. So it feels a lot better putting 7 pints down the sink than a double batch,
Absolutely. It's a bad feeling every time you have to dump 5 gallons.
Oh, yeah, I've done that before. It's heartbreaking almost. But yeah, so what was it? Oh yeah, the cider. The cider. I almost forgot. I told you to remind me, Tony.
I was just going to say it, but you beat me to
it. There was a guy. It happened last week actually. There's a guy up in Scotland, and his handle is Cider Meister. So go and check out his channel. A little bit of a plug for him. And he has basically kitted his whole garden. I thought he had a big house and lots of land, but he's on quite a small, sort of normal, semi-detached kind of house. And he's more or less put, I think it's about 15, 20 apple trees in his front and back gardens.
Okay.
And he's basically harvested his cider, pressed the apples, and he's sent me some of the apple juice to make my own cider with. So really kind of him.
Wow. So how much did he send you?
The only downside was it's sent me 2 litres. The only downer was I went to a beer festival the day after this apple juice arrived. So it wasn't for another couple of days that I thought, yeah, I better look at it. And it had started fermenting in the bottles.
Okay.
I hadn't put the yeast in. So
spontaneous fermentation.
It's like a spontaneous... Yeah, exactly. And on on my cast last week, I had a bottle on the side, and every half an hour I was going, psst, psst, psst.
Okay.
No, can't open it yet, for 4 hours. So it was really, really, and I had 4 500 bottles that, thank goodness they were plastic. If you sent them to me in glass bottles, it would have all gone pear-shaped or apple-shaped.
So how does it taste?
But yeah, it's still fermenting now. I haven't opened it yet.
Wow.
Literally, that was last week. So it could be really bad, in which case I've built it up and it will be really bad. The other thing was he actually sent me one of his ciders. So I've got my version using his apple juice spontaneously for a lambic cider, I guess. And I'm going to taste test that against the one that he's made himself. So I think that's going to be a really good kind of experiment.
Yeah, really nice. Taste them side by side.
Yeah, the other thing was he actually sent me one of the Pat Mac caps. So
Oh, right.
in the little package that he sent me, he goes, "Don't worry about the fermenter or the demijohn. Just bung it into a bottle and see how you go." So that worked really
Now,
well.
those
I
are
just
the
put
ones
it
that
all
will
into this.
automatically release pressure, right? It's like an built-in pressure release valve.
Yeah, it's got a hole in the top with like a little rubber washer, and there's like a tiny slit cut into the washer. And yeah, as the pressure builds up, it kind of pushes the split open, and obviously when it opens, a little bit hisses out, and then the rubber reseals itself. And it, yeah, so far it works. It's working really well.
Nice.
It seems to be constantly hissing at the moment, but we'll see.
Good fermentation.
It might be really bad, but hey, what can you do? I haven't done anything. I've taken the juice, put it into a container. I haven't even added any yeast. It's done it all for me. We'll call it God's cider or something like that.
So you haven't checked any gravities or anything?
No, because it's already started fermenting. I could have done the gravity, but the bubbles would have just pushed the hydrometer up, and I don't have one of those sort of sight glass ones. Yeah, I should get one really. But yeah, I didn't. And cider usually, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be about 6-7%, somewhere around that mark, I'd say, because I haven't added any sugar to it, so it's not a turbo cider. Yeah, it's about as pure alcohol drink as you could possibly do. That cider's going to be really interesting, and I'm thinking about doing another kind of braggot, but it's I tried doing one before using, I think it was rosemary I used.
Okay.
As a bittering agent, so no hops at all. I'm going to do a mash because I got a few grains that I need to use up.
So this is what you're going to do. You're going to do a braggot.
Yeah. I've done one in the past, but I think because it's easy, I'm just going to do a stovetop 1 gallon batch.
How do you do a braggot?
And see how it turns out. How do I do
What's
a braggot?
the Uncle Jones recipe for a braggot?
Well, the first kind of time I did. What did I do? I did honey, a couple of jars of honey. I did some, I think it was spray malt, or maybe it was sort of half spray malt, half sugar. And then I steeped that. No, actually, sorry, I boiled it up. And then I added my my leaves, my rosemary leaves. And then, yeah, bung it in, take your gravity reading. The only problem with my one was it was incredibly high. The gravity was off the scale because I used honey.
You remember how much honey you used?
I used a wine yeast. Probably, I think it was 2 bottles or 2 jars. So that's 800 grams, 700, 800 grams in a 1 gallon batch.
Okay.
So it was too much. And I put the spray malt and the sugar in as well.
That's about 2
pounds.
Yeah,
the gravity was
just under 2 pounds.
Yeah, about 2 pounds imperial. And yeah, the basically where I put the hydrometer in, it was off the scale. It went off the bottom of the scale, so I had to guess at the original gravity too. So it was way too high. And the wine yeast, so it was 13-14%, I think, and there was still some sweetness left in it because the yeast gave out. So basically,
will you stick with that same sort of recipe, or will you change it up?
No, I'll go for a lower ABV definitely. I think my conversion, because for some weird reason I got it out of a book called Booze for Free. And I don't know why, but the guy had done the recipe in, I think it was a 3 gallon batch, or maybe it was 2.5 gallon batch. It was some very strange batch.
Okay.
Put it that way. So I thought I'll have to convert all the figures. And then when I bought the spray malt, I went, well, it's only in a 500 bag anyway. I might as well chuck it all in, because I don't want to. What am I going to do with half a bag? So I've put it all in.
You make a starter.
And,
200 grams for a starter.
Yeah, I should have done that. I didn't have my my stirrer in those days, my stir plate. So that would have been slightly hard. Although you can do a good starter in a bottle.
Yeah, just shake it up every now and then.
Exactly that difficult to do. Yeah, shake it up. Or what they say, shake it up when you walk past. That's what they usually say, isn't it? So you don't forget.
Leave it in the loo.
Yeah. Well, off flavours, man. So it was just far too sweet. It tasted nice though. Braggots are very, very nice. And then of course I had the experience of Mr. Zippy Searle's exploding braggot.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that was something else. Another story to tell.
Now you guys meet up quite a bit, don't you? Like, there's you, and then you've gotten together with Zippy. You also get together with Brewmaster Ben and Handsworth Homebrew.
Yeah. Get together with those guys. There's another guy, Beer Lover 1983 Brew, who lives reasonably close by. We haven't got together for a while. Last time we got together was at the beer festival, the Great British Beer Festival.
That was some great footage from
just absolutely huge. Yeah, it was very odd because Big Sir Q came down and Scoosy 67 came down.
That was,
and
I bet that was kind of a surprise.
Yeah,
I was surprised when I saw Scoosy 67 show up.
No, we knew he was coming because we arranged it in advance.
Okay.
And Zippy was going to come, but he had some problems at home or something. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Well, no, he had to go to a job interview. That's right.
Okay.
So, because he got made unemployed more or less the same week as I did, which was weird. He's always copying me, you see. No, only joking. So he didn't come. He had a job interview. I think that was what the excuse was. I wouldn't have gone for that job, damn it. But a lot of the footage revolved around these 20-inch hot dogs that everyone seemed to be eating.
Yeah.
And Big Sir Q was, he was hypnotised by this 20-inch sausage. But hey, when you're drinking a lot of beer, anything seems like a good idea, right?
Absolutely. Nice.
I tell you, that was quite good because we got, I didn't actually. I got a few nods from people, which was a bit weird. But Big Sir Q and Ben, Brewmaster Ben, were getting people coming up and asking them for autographs and stuff. It was really bizarre. And me and Darren were sitting there and hey, what's wrong with us, man?
Just chump change.
But I guess that's the price of fame, But yeah, when you're drinking for for sort of 12 hours, it gets a bit messy at the end,
Yeah.
It was a good day though, really good.
Looks like a great time. What kind of beers are you brewing up these days? I mean, it's not very much because of the lack of job.
No, because technically I'm homeless as well at the moment. So I'm the homeless brewer, hence the beard. I don't know if you noticed, Tony, but I got a beard going. And I got, actually, the weird thing was, I went to a beer festival and I was a bit worse for wear. And I was waiting for the bus going home. And someone threw some coins at me. I was sitting next to the bus stop on the curb. And someone came past and was throwing some coins. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then,
You're joking.
Okay. 50p. No, I'm 100% serious.
Wow.
They were throwing money at me, or maybe they recognised me from my Homebrew Wednesday.
So, any plans to shave it off? Little Movember or something? That's already gone?
I'm doing the anti-Movember. No, it's growing and I'm just not doing anything to stop it. But as soon as I get, you know, job interviews or jobs or, you know, things, I'm going to tidy it up at the very least. But it'll probably come off soon. I usually try and grow a beard for the winter time, and yeah, this year I just started a bit early. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's all good. But beer wise, I'm doing the smaller batches. So at the moment, I had a ginger beer that is my absolute nemesis. For some unknown reason, I cannot do a ginger beer. Even if I tried doing a kit ginger beer, Cooper's ginger beer, didn't go right. And I've done 4 ginger beers, sort of all ginger, I guess, and they've all gone wrong. So every so often, every now and then, when I feel a bit fruity, I go and try a ginger beer.
Have you ever?
But I'm obviously doing something fundamentally wrong.
Have you ever had a ginger beer that you liked? I mean, is it a type that you like?
Yeah, I quite like the Krabbies. That's a nice one, but obviously that's very sweet. But there's a lot of Jamaican style ginger beers, and there's a restaurant over here called, what's it called, Blue Lagoon or something, or I can't remember exactly what it's called. But they have homemade ginger beer in, you know, the pop top kind of bottles. So it's almost like their own homebrew. It's probably not. It's probably just they haven't stuck commercial labels on. But very cloudy, very sweet. Yeah, beautiful stuff. You know, nice stuff over ice.
And that's what you're aiming for?
Yeah. And it's a different style, you know, because I love my beers, but I also quite like doing different things. Hence, you know, sizes and honey beers and that kind of stuff. I'd like to do a honey porter, actually. That might be cool.
It sounds pretty
There's a good recipe, you know, Obama, you know, President Obama in America. Apparently he brews, well, not him, but his staff brew up honey porter in the White House.
I did see
and there's a recipe that is out there. Yeah. And it looks really nice. I quite like honey, anything with honey, and so that would be one to try, definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, alas, because I'm having problems outside of home brewing, it has an impact on, you know, what I can do. And yeah, if it's a choice of food or beer, I'll probably go for food because I'm greedy.
Man's got to eat. So, have you ever noticed a difference? Do you have a preference between doing the canned kits and the all grain? I mean, is there any reason for a war between kit and all grain?
Where do I sit in said war? I think I don't really like to get involved, even though I'm quite opinionated, as you're probably aware. And I generally say what I think, and it gets me into trouble sometimes. I think a good can kit that's maybe added steep grains or hops is much better than a bad all grain. Dare I say something like that?
No, I think that's a very good that's a very good statement. I think it's very diplomatic.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Can I count on your vote in the next one? Yeah. Yeah. So I think some people, and it tends to be the kind of, there's a lot of beer snobs around. Do you know the term snob?
Sure.
Do you have that over?
That's
over
international.
I was going to say over in the States, but over in Norway. Beer snobs will always be beer snobs, no matter whether they're home brewers or beer reviewers or opinionated people in the local pub. And I think a lot of people think that the transition from doing kits to all grain somehow miraculously makes all your beers much better. And let me tell you, that's not the case at all. You can really still mess up all grain beers.
Absolutely.
But a good brewer, I think, doing a mini mash, for example, you can knock spots off someone doing a bad all grain, definitely.
You didn't participate in the SJ Pour Challenge this year, did you?
No, I had to pull out. My name was in the UK leg. I registered very early because I'd obviously been in the SJ Pour 2013, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it, but we didn't have the. It was all done in regions, so we didn't have the facility to send the winner from each region back over to SJ, or there was no crossing the Atlantic, put it that, or the Pacific even.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really disappointed. Essentially, the main reason was because I had to move house, and a lot of my big brewing gear is in storage, and it still is at the moment. That's why I'm doing a lot of small batches at the moment.
I don't think
And I
anybody's.
couldn't do.
I don't think anybody's going to judge you for that because I mean your life situation was different between the Smash Off in the spring, and then now for the SJ Pour Challenge. And family first, and you definitely got priorities. And I think you made the right decision. I definitely would have did that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I did. I mean, I did the Smash Off, but it was a small. It was a 2-gallon batch, and that was hard. I mean, that was hard to do. But I couldn't have done. I think Harry was initially saying that you had to brew 50 pints, 60 pints. So I'd have had to do a 6-gallon batch, I think.
right.
And then subsequently, more people dropped out. I dropped out. Zippy dropped out. A couple of the guys grouped up as a team and did a beer between 3 of them. So there were a lot less people in it in the UK leg than we initially thought.
Yeah.
But to be honest, because I didn't have my equipment really, my big equipment, I couldn't have done that level of brew, if you like. But I could tell you what I would have brewed, if you like.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. If you could have brewed, if you could have participated, what would you have brewed?
Yeah, I had a recipe. I can't remember exactly the recipe off the top of my head, but it was going to be a proper dishwater beer, a proper English bitter.
Nice.
Really dark, quite a lot of bittering, quite a lot of hops. Same thing as I did in the Smash beer, but I would have used Fuggles and maybe Cascade, not Cascade, maybe Goldings and Fuggles, or Bramling hops and Fuggles, maybe something along those lines. And I wouldn't have won. I wouldn't have got anywhere near the end of the competition. But that wasn't really my aim. My aim was trying to, show the kind of the English traditional dishwater beer, like a best bitter, if you like. And it was brew your best beer. So best. I was thinking, something along those lines.
Well, as I understand it,
well,
one of the top 3 beers in the U.S. was a bitter.
Now that doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Because it's something different. Over here, lots of the people did kind of the IPA style beer because they get to, there were a few darker beers as well, like stouts and that kind of stuff. And the fashion at the moment, as far as I see it, is you do an insanely hoppy IPA in the American style. This is for the UK. Or you do a stout with, or a porter with, say, vanilla or chocolate vanilla. That's quite a famous kind of brew at the moment.
Yeah.
So those were the ones that I thought would win. They would get through the UK leg. But I'm always up for doing something different. And I thought trying to put like an ESB kind of really dark, kind of strong bitter. It would. I think it would do quite well in America because not many people would have, would know that kind of style.
So I got a question. So
yeah, go on.
So you brew up like a darker type of grain bill for this best bitter.
Maybe some biscuit in there. Chuck some biscuit in as well for that nice nutty kind of taste.
And then you'd use Fuggles and Goldens, maybe some Bramlin Cross.
Maybe Bramlin Cross or something along those lines. But a sort of traditional,
what would you
maybe
use for a
Whitbread
yeast?
Fuggles or something.
What would you use for a yeast?
Sorry? Yeast. Now probably Nottingham. I'd say Nottingham strain. I guess. I mean, when I'm doing my normal beers for me to drink at home, and I'm not entering them in a competition, I'll use SAO4.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just like that yeast.
I really like that yeast.
And it always, and it always. I mean, USO5 is quite nice. The Fermentis, which is really weird because it's a French company. I did some research into them, but they make some very, very good reacting yeast. But if I was doing a sort of traditional style, I'd use more of an old school kind of, British yeast. I might even get the Buxton water. You can buy the Buxton spring water in those big sort of gallon jugs, and I probably would have done that and used the northern, the Buxton area water, because that's where they make the really, really good sort of bitters. It's weird because Tom and Harry live up there. They live in the sort of the north of England, and they always make these, they always make these IPAs and stuff, and go for really weird ones. But they never do really traditional, hearty pints. But I guess that's the beauty of being a home brewer. You can brew whatever style you like. I've been looking, because I do this this segment on my channel now called Digesting Beer. Yep. I'm looking into all the sort of the background of breweries and what's going on behind closed doors, and some of the things that are going on, the politics and these big massive corporations and stuff. It's from just picking up a beer in the shop, you wouldn't know, but if you do a little bit of research, we've got the internet after all, you become aware that a lot of these big companies own multiple different breweries. Right. And essentially they're in it for the money.
So before we go any further, the new series, as of this recording, you just put out number 5.
Beer. Yeah, so, I uploaded that one yesterday evening.
So do you have a set sort of plan, or is it sort of chaotic for like what was in number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And where's it going?
So Digesting Beer is, because I'm not brewing so much, and I'm aware that certain people have not taken offence, that's the wrong word, but have kind of gone off my channel a little bit because I'm not brewing so much. And people like to see brewing. That's, what the community is all about. And obviously I do the reviews, and I do my Vau TV, which is all about music, believe it or not, although I'm talking over it all the time. So Digesting Beer is about trying to get the community to talk to each other, to get people involved in conversation. I'm deliberately picking topics which are slightly controversial. And we're at number 5, as you said, at the moment. However, number 6 is going to be slightly different, because 2 people in the last week have sent me emails, and they were independent as far as I know, and they've more or less asked for the same thing. Okay.
What have they asked for?
Well, I don't want to go too much into it, because I need to do a bit of research, and it is reasonably chaotic because I usually like doing them in one take. There's not usually too much editing.
But by the time that this gets out, I mean, this is probably going to go out in a couple of weeks. So
yeah. So it's probably going to be out by then. So that one that you watched yesterday, no, I'm only joking. It's going to be about a certain brand of pubs in the UK called Wetherspoons.
Okay.
And I'm not paid by them. So a lot of people in America and Australia are not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm slightly concerned whether it's going to get a bit of negative backlash.
So what is a Wetherspoon?
Wetherspoons is a reasonably new chain of pubs which has a very, very good selection of real ale. Cask condition ale, they call it, but also they have recently taken on 6 Point Brewery from America, if you've heard of them.
Yep.
And they've got 3 of their beers in cans, which is very unusual for the UK.
It's
not that you can't buy beer in cans
worldwide.
Yeah, but the fact that you can buy cans in a pub, that's very unusual. And they've also got a contract with Brewdog. That's the very new thing. I think that was only released last week or the week before. That they're going to start stocking Brewdog in their bars. And again, they're chasing what's fashionable, you know, because Brewdog's reasonably fashionable at the moment.
Okay, so it's a bar. Weathers is a bar or chain that's bringing in a lot of craft beers because that's what some people are liking.
Yeah, I can see why they're doing it. I totally understand why they're doing it, but the whole craft beer movement, how does craft beer on one hand sit with cask ale on the other hand? You know, and traditionally cask ale is the kind of the old guys drinking in the corner of a pub, but probably spend quite a lot of time and money in the pub, against the younger kind of, I guess, the younger appeal of craft beer.
I think I look at cask ale as though the original craft beer. You know, real ale was like the original craft beer, and then which is definitely different than macro beer.
Oh, 100%, because it's non-pasteurized. It's weird. I went to a beer festival which was in Twickenham, where they played the rugby, and it was a real ale cask conditioned festival. And they were advertising a lot of their beers as vegan beers because they hadn't put any, sulfides in it. So the yeast was still there, everything was still alive, and because of that, they called it vegan. Because obviously a lot of sulfides come from crustaceans, and I think you can use blood if you want. They don't use it anymore, but I think they used to use ox blood.
So they didn't use like isinglass, I think is what most cask ales use for clarifying.
Yeah, but that's made from mollusks, I believe, and sea crustaceans, shrimps. So because they're not killing the yeast off with sulfides, they can call it vegan. So they're calling it vegan cask conditioned real ale or something like that. I mean, all these different fashions and reactions to things, like, you know, a craft beer will come out and it will do, like Brewdog, for example, and it will do very aggressive marketing, and the labels are deliberately kind of new school, so it gets the lager drinkers, the young kind of city guys involved.
Controversial,
and then, you know,
edgy.
Exactly, and certain other brewers see that happening, get a bit scared and go, oh, we better react to it. And all the time, the bars are kind of having to surf what's fashionable at that moment in time. This chain of pubs essentially has basically gone very aggressive in the market and has included craft beer very substantially in what they provide. I mean, they're traditionally known as a real ale or cask ale pub, and now they've gone really aggressively for the craft beer, if you like. So it's going to be very interesting to see how well their sales do. I've got a feeling that, especially at the moment, it's going to do really, really well. Short term, but long term, who knows? Who knows? We will have to see. It's going to be quite interesting. It's one to watch, definitely. The only fear about the series is going to be a lot of people through the rest of the world are not going to know what I'm talking about. But hopefully I'll describe it in such a way that they can kind of construct it into their own reality, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
they can think, oh yeah, I know a bar that's all of a sudden gone really aggressive to craft beer, for example, or, you know, something like that. So hopefully I'll be able to do it in such a way that people will kind of understand and relate with, which is yeah, which is what this series is all about. It's about challenging people to get people to argue with me, number one, but also argue with each other or think about things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily think about. But two, it's about getting people talking. And the feedback for the whole series, well, the series as a whole, has been really good so far. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with that.
Nice.
But don't worry, I will be brewing again. It won't be, the starvation won't be for too much longer, hopefully.
Well, we definitely hope not. We hope that you find employment, get back on your feet, get your place back, and then,
Yeah. Well, hopefully I get a job in a brewery. That would be really good.
In the marketing
Although I'm
department.
told that, I'm told Harry's not paying very well at the moment. I really do actually believe that, we're on this world for a very short period of time. So doing something that you really don't like or you don't want to do, it's a waste of your life force. It really is. And we shouldn't do it, So, okay, times are hard. And believe me, at the moment, I'm, going through hard times. But I've got faith, man. I believe that, I'm doing the right thing and, things will get better. Hey.
They have to. Yeah, it's only one way up. Or only one way to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly right, man. Exactly right.
What is your main goal with the Vonline live casts?
So yeah, I've got a show on Vau TV, and although I do slightly random days, it's usually a Friday or a Saturday. But the whole idea behind the Vaughan cast is just to kick back and play some tunes. So, and if you've ever been to one of my casts, not just Tony, because he's quite a regular, but anyone watching this, my music taste is very, very eclectic. So I'll play some weird music on there. And a lot of people in the chat room will actively boo me and stuff if I play the wrong kind of music. But it generally goes from it's got a rocky vibe. And you're going from the kind of 80s kind of mellow rocky stuff to the more kind of heavy stuff. The later it gets, the more heavy it gets usually. But then I also really love funk music and anything with a really good bass line. 60s, late 60s, 70s. Oh man, it gets me going.
Groovy, baby.
And obviously, yeah, really groovy, shagadelic. And my favourite band, my favourite band that I keep going back to of all time is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and
nice.
They go from real sort of rocky stuff, really quite commercial rock, to really, really funky stuff.
Yeah, they do.
And I think it's all about the bass and drums. Not so much the vocals, although the vocals and the lyrics are really good, and some people really get into that. I'm not really for that. I'm a sort of drum and bass, not an electric club drum and bass, but
a composition,
a good drummer
all together.
Yeah, that's the backbone of a really good band. If you've got a good drummer and a good bass player, you can almost kind of turn off the guitar, or they can go off and do some weird stuff. And so long as the bass and drums are locked together, you can really rock it. Yeah, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, that's the Vaughan cast. And the one thing I want to try and do, actually, I've totally forgot, but I've just remembered now, is we had an infamous Google Hangout the other night, and we kind of thought that it might be cool to have a kind of chat room for the moderators on one of the Vau TV casts, in a chat room, so they could actually speak and talk to me while everyone else is chatting normally in the chat room.
That sounds really kind of cool.
I think we're going to do it. So it's not like a Skype call. It's not just one person phoning up and going, hey, Uncle Jonah, I want you to play Rush, or something like that. It will be an actual conversation that's going on and not just my dulcet tones. Although if it does get a bit fruity, I'll always be able to turn that down a little bit on my mixing box. So, you know, I can still hear what they're talking about, but it won't be broadcast live. But I think the idea is to have people talking and having a conversation going. So it's a bit like a pub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got a bit of kind of conversation going on in the background. You've got your music. You've got me talking rubbish. And hopefully people at home are drinking their beers and grooving on down.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people actually.
No, I think
brew.
that's a really good. I think that's a really great idea. I think that's something that's missing in that sort of environment. So
yeah, the time delay on Skype and Uvu sometimes it's really bad, but on Google Hangouts it's pretty fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's a good benefit. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was the infamous brewcasts that we did a few times on Uvu, and we had people brewing live, and I think those casts were really popular. Like people really loved doing them, but nobody actually recorded it and broadcasted it. So the people that were involved, the Uvu people, had a really good night. But if you could stream that footage or the audio and put it onto a live feed so other people could listen to it as well, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. It's like the simultaneous international brew sessions. Those were really kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember Tiny. Usually when Tiny's awake, he's brewing on a Saturday, and I'm doing my cast in the UK on Friday night. But he's only just woken up in Australia. So what he does is he puts my my Vaughn cast on his iPad or his laptop, and he listens to the music while he's making a batch of brew, and I think that's really cool. He doesn't really talk to me that much, but I know he's listening to me in the background. So things like that, just, you know, are really good for the community, and that's kind of the way I want to kind of take my Vaughn TV. So that's the future.
Look forward to that experiment coming to fruition and participating in it.
Experimente. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm one of those kind of people that, even like I said earlier on, my first brew when I came back to brewing, I didn't follow the instructions. I just added honey, and I wasn't supposed to do it at all. So I do like doing things slightly differently, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But you know, I do like experimenting.
Well, thanks a lot for spending the last time with me, Uncle Jonah. I really look forward to watching more of your Homebrew Wednesdays. Definitely
it's been my pleasure. Yeah.
To watching more of the Digest and Beer series and watching the controversial comments coming in. So getting the conversation
hopefully
going.
So.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, as I say, just to finish it up, the community isn't just about showing people brewing. Although, you know, a lot of people like those videos, it's not just about that. Getting people talking, getting people communicating, that's what it's all about. And let me give a big shout out to the 17 Brew Crew.
Yes.
Really great bunch of guys, and thanks very much for letting us do this.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Shamon.
Shamon.